feel free to put any questions in the chat. Maybe at the end we can answer all of them or some of them. We're going to try to answer as many as possible. So yeah, Bilal, if we can introduce yourself, maybe.
Again?
You want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah. So yes. Hi everyone. I'm so happy that we're having you in the presentation about Ramadan today. So I am Belal in Kurd, and I am the Arabic FLTA at the University of Scranton this year, and I am from Palestine.
And my name is Chama, and I am the FLT for French this year. I'm Moroccan, but I usually live in Canada. So let's go ahead and get started with Ramadan around the world. So today we are going to explain to you Ramadan in 1 hour. We're going to do our best. So we have to start by explaining what is Ramadan, the reasons why we fast during Ramadan, and then we will end by showing you a little bit of traditions around the world of how different people celebrate Ramadan.
So before starting thinking about Ramadan, I would like to start thinking about the 5 pillars of Islam. So the first thing that we have, the first pillar in Islam we have is Shahada. Shahada is simply to testify that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. Secondly, it's Salah. So Salah is offering the prayer, and we have we pray 5 times a day, so it's 5 prayers a day. And Zakat then which is about paying the zakat, like giving alms or charity, especially to the people who are in need. And we're going to talk broadly about this in the next slides. The Hajj, which is the fourth pillar, which is going to pilgrimage to the house of Allah at Mecca city. And lastly, which is our main topic today, we're talking about, which is fasting in the month of Ramadan.
So Ramadan is, you guys probably don't know this, but Ramadan is actually a month in the Islamic or Hijri calendar. So the Islamic calendar is also 12 months, but the days are, like it's 29 or 30 days per month. And Ramadan is like the 9th month of the year. So it's a full month, and that is why we actually have to fast 30 days, because it is a month in the Islamic or Hijri calendar. Now, because the year has like fewer days in the Islamic or Hijri calendar, if you compare to like 2021, 2020, the calendar we use, the dates don't apply. So that's why we say Ramadan is a little bit static from, a Western perspective, because for example, this year, it's from April 13th to May the 11th or the 12th, but last year it was from April 24th to May 23rd. We go like 13 days back every year, basically. Yeah.
So we are usually asked like so many questions about Ramadan. So our friends usually ask us like, so you guys don't eat for 30 days straight? Well, moving on to the next slide, we can see that here to the right answer to this question is that it's not exactly that we fast like straight 30 days, because if you do that, you will not like be living. So fasting is from sunrise, like from what we call the Fajr, that's the sunrise, to the sunset, which is the Maghrib. And that happens every day in the month of Ramadan. So yes, we can eat between the sunset and the sunrise at night every day.
Perfect. Now, for the time, so again, it's not static because every city has a different sunrise, every different sunset. So we fast from dawn to dusk, sunrise to sunset. In Scranton, that's from 4:37 a.m. to 7:58 p.m. So that means that me, for example, I wake up at like 4:30, and then I grab like breakfast, and then at 4:37, I know that I cannot eat or drink anymore, and then that's it until 7:58 p.m. In certain cities like Anchorage and Alaska, they have a really long fasting day because they have like a larger daylight time, if you will. So from 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. But in certain cities, it's from like 3 a.m. to 5:23 p.m., which is doable. When we fast during the winter, because as you know, like we said, Ramadan is not static. When we fast during the winter, we break the fast at around 5 p.m. and it's usually a little bit easier because you don't feel the hunger that much because you're not fasting so long during the day. But yeah, sunrise and sunset times, by the way, these times, sorry, I forgot to mention, are for today. So sunrise and sunset times go forward or backward by around 1 to 2 minutes every day. So that means that tomorrow we'll probably have to break fast at 8 p.m. instead of 7:58, but it is very precise.
Okay. So another another question we get asked is that like what that we are actually asked is that about the water, is that not like not even water, or is it like just food that you have? Actually, for the for the water and the food, for sure that we have food and water, but that's like during the hours that are we allowed to during the break of the fast. So we actually it's we do the fasting um, from, as I said, from the Fajr until Maghrib. At that time and during the month, of course, we have water like normally, and any kind of food you can have.
But yeah, basically, we're not allowed to drink when we're fasting. That's basically the point. It's a
Of
dry.
course, yeah,
People assume it's just fasting from food, but really it's also water. So yeah, we get a little bit thirsty as well. So that is the next question. Next question they ask us is like, do you find it difficult? Do you get thirsty, hungry? And really depends on the people. But the first day can be a bit more difficult for sure. You get a headache most of the time the first day, but the rest of the month goes by pretty smoothly. Like right now, today is the 16th day of Ramadan here in Scranton, and it's been a week for me. I haven't really felt any hunger, any thirst. And we'll see a slide later. But soccer players are able to play their games while fasting without any problems. So if they can do it, we can do it as well. So why do we fast? We're going to explain to you a little bit the reasons why we fast. The main reason is because it's a direct commandment from Allah, God in Arabic, to be mindful of Allah. So that's really the reason. But there's other benefits such as empathizing with the poor and the needy, and of course, some amazing health benefits, which we will go over in a few seconds. So I cited here the Quran, which is our book. In Surah Al-Baqarah, I won't read the entire ayah, it's a little bit long, but here it says, so those of you who live to see that month should fast it. It's an important month because like the Quran, our book, was revealed during the month of Ramadan, which is why this month was chosen for us to fast. And the commandment is simple. So those of you who live to see that month should fast it. And there's a few exceptions. It says, and whoever is sick or on a journey should basically make up those days during the rest of the year before the next Ramadan. And the reason why we were commanded to fast is also said in the Quran. It says, oh, you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may be mindful of Allah. What does this mean? Basically, it means that you can focus on your religion for a month. Like you don't have the distractions of food and making food and, like the daily distractions, and you are focused on, praying extra and things like that. And we will see that the extra things that we do during Ramadan. So I'm guessing probably some of you are asking, like, when can we not fast? If you're curious, please put it in the chat. We don't want to spoil it. We will keep it maybe for the Q&A part of the presentation. All right. So yeah, go ahead, Bilal.
okay. So what another question that we um, are usually asked about is that, so since it's a religious month commandment, is the whole month a holiday? Like Muslim governments give you a month off work, like for the whole month for 30 days? That we have to see in this slide is that Ramadan, of course, it is a special month, but it's not a month off. So in Muslim countries, schedules are usually adjusted to finish work a bit earlier. So if you work in a company, like you usually start your work at 8 a.m. During Ramadan, they give you you start at 10. You don't start during Ramadan at 8 like the normal days. And people can choose to work during the lunch hour, but it's not 30 days off. So we continue working school as usual.
Exactly.
Another thing is that we talk about here is that other benefits, which is fasting to empathize with the poor and the needy. So during the month of Ramadan, it is actually a chance to empathize with the poor. So usually the people who are poor, who are needy, it feels like the whole year like Ramadan because they don't have like enough food. They always suffer. So this month gives us the chance to actually feel them and empathize with them and to know the circumstances of these people. And after spending the day without food or water, you realize how it really feels not to have any food or water in your daily life. And empathize with the people, as I said, who don't know when their next meal will be.
Mhm. And the other benefits, which have been proven only recently, actually, Ramadan or fasting actually is a purification for the body. So you might know, like intermittent fasting is becoming a big trend right now because fasting is really good actually for your body. Us Muslims, we've been, ordered to fast like over 1,000 years ago, and only now are we finding out that actually fasting triggers autophagy, which is a process where your body destroys old or damaged cells. It triggers neurogenesis. So your brain is actually producing new cells and nerve tissues after not eating or drinking for like long periods of time. Like at least 12 hours, because that's the normal day of fasting, more or less, at least. It triggers the production of white blood cells, which strengthens your immune system. It protects against neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia. It regulates blood sugar. So for those of you who are wondering, like diabetic people, can they fast? Yes, they can, and it's fine. A lot of people are actually diabetic in Arab countries, but yeah, it regulates blood sugar and fights insulin resistance. Yeah, it fights inflammation-based diseases like arthritis. Yeah, boosts metabolism. And the most interesting one, and this has only been proven recently, it actually helps with cancer prevention and delays the development of tumors. So it's actually really beneficial, even for somebody who's sick, to fast. It's a little bit, it takes a little bit of effort, but it's actually really good for them in the long run. So now we'll talk to you about like beyond food and drink. Fasting, like you guys probably know from your Muslim friends, they can't eat, they can't drink. But did you know that we were not allowed to swear as well, or like gossip, or be negative, things like that? So manners really do matter during Ramadan, and we are also trying to be the best Muslim we can be. We're trying to build habits, and charity is like really emphasized during this month. So regarding manners, sorry. During Ramadan, we are extremely careful not to do the following. This is just a small list, but there's so much more. Get angry is a big one. When you're fasting, there's a few hadith which are like tellings from the Prophet ﷺ that say like when you're fasting, somebody comes and wants to pick a fight, you say no, I'm fasting. Sorry, I can't get into this fight with you right now. So basically, that's it. You don't get angry. You don't swear. So if you're in traffic and you get angry at the person driving next to you, you have to stay calm. You can't gossip, leave the situation, can't be lazy, can't be impatient, don't waste time. Like, don't start waking up at 2 p.m. just to fast less. Don't waste food. That's a really important one. And anything that can be considered a proof of bad character, basically. And instead, we're like really investing in positive qualities. Like, if we're positive, then we're trying to be even more positive, more helpful, especially, with like plating the table, washing the dishes. Everybody has to really help out. More patient, more charitable, more kind. And basically, the point is to perfect our manners as much as possible during this month.
So, as the Chama said, so it's not about being away from food and water, but it's like being the best Muslim we can be. Among of the deeds that Muslims increase in during the month of Ramadan are the following. So for the people who are not committed, like for the month of Ramadan, they get usually committed to the prayers of the 5 daily prayers on time. And people get actually to read the Quran a lot for those people who are always busy, they don't have the time. So they get like more deeds reading the Quran during this month. And the prayer of Tarawih, which will be talk about like in the coming slides, and people take the chance to do more charity, giving people like money. They help out the poor, and they learn about more about the Prophet Muhammad and his biography. They seek knowledge about Islam, and this actually usually happens that people actually attend halaqat. It's like discussion areas where they listen to sheikh about the guidance of Islam. They take the chance to forgive and repent. So if you have a fight with someone, people think and they are thoughtful about this, so they go with forgive people, and they have like better relationships during the month. They memorize. Some people would memorize the Quran. They pray the optional prayers that give like more deeds other than the main prayers. And also, here is that there's a lot more and more like dhikr, or I would say remembrance, yes, and so much more of the deeds that we do.
Yeah. So you don't have to do all of these. That's the best if you can do all of these. But usually what happens is that people set goals right before Ramadan. They pick a few that they really want to focus on. And then every single day they check with themselves, like, did I read my 5 pages that I wanted to read? Did I pray on time? Etc. etc. It's like really about accountability and trying your best. So yeah, building habits. One of my friends inspired me to name the slide "Don't be just a Ramadan Muslim," which I find a perfect title because like what we just showed you, we do that are extra. That means like during the time, like during normal times, for example, Tarawih is proper to Ramadan, but praying the 5 daily prayers on time, that's something that you're supposed to do every day. But of course, you know, with work, some people say, okay, I'm busy, I don't have time, like Bilal just said. The goal is to be a better Muslim during Ramadan. The goal is not to like you just do the thing properly during Ramadan. Then once Ramadan is over, that's it. You go back to your old ways and you don't pray anymore. You don't do anything anymore. It's really about doing better during the month of Ramadan. So research actually has shown that it only takes 21 days to build a habit. And since Ramadan is 29 or 30 days, like it's the perfect opportunity to improve your relationship to your religion. And then after Ramadan is over, then you can continue on that path. So yeah, the goal is to generally try your best to commit to the habits after Ramadan has ended as well. The other thing I wanted to mention was sadaqah and zakat, which is basically charity, but we have two words in Arabic. Zakat is a pillar of Islam, like Bilal was mentioning, and zakat is given a specific percentage of your wealth to the needy at appointed times during the year. So one of those times is actually at the end of Ramadan. And if you actually make under a certain amount of money, then you don't give zakat, and zakat is given to you. I'm not going to say that it's exactly like taxes because it doesn't go to the government. You pick the people you have to give it to, but it is very, very specific and there's specific times during the year. That is zakat. Sadaqah is pretty much the same, but it's not precise. You can give any amount of money that you want to the needy still, and whenever you want, however much you want. So zakat is like mandatory, sadaqah is not, but of course we really do give sadaqah because it's part of religion whenever we can. So the thing about sadaqah also is that it's mainly in terms of money, but it can be done in other ways as well. Like you can help somebody, you can give them food, you can donate clothes, things like that. And we have to give from what we love. That is something I really like about Islam. There's this ayah in Surah Al Imran that says, "You will never attain true piety until you spend out of what you love, but Allah is aware of anything you may spend." So it says, like point blank, you have to give it out of what you love. So if you're going to give to your neighbor like a meal, don't give them the food that you don't like. Give them the best part of the meal that you made so that you can get the reward for that. And
Exactly.
finally, the reason why one of the times that zakat is during at the end of Ramadan is so that everybody has enough to break their fast comfortably. Many food campaigns happen during Ramadan, and really like some governments as well. They deliver like food for free to make sure that nobody, I mean, everybody has something to eat for their breaking the fast meal. It's very real.
So one of the a form of charity is making sure no one breaks their fast alone. So this is like so important. It's not like to leave a person like having um, um, to break their fast alone. So that we do like by inviting people to your table. So usually families in the Middle East they gather and at the grandparents' house to break the fast and what we call the iftar. Iftar is like the meal that we have um, um, after breaking the fast for sure. So that's why it is important to invite anyone whose family is in another city, but especially students who live away, the needy people, anyone who can't get to their home in time for like iftar. We usually give these people like who are in their way like water and some dates. For the new Muslims, people who actually work in other cities without their families. So people do get the chance to invite people and have like iftar in groups, especially with the family. So that gives like a lot of joy to the table during iftar. Another thing here, which is a fact that I have to mention to the next slide. Sorry. Um, this is this is one of the photos that has gone viral all over the social media. And this is talking specifically about the people who live, about the students actually who live abroad. So when students live alone in a different city or country, they usually gather together for iftar meal with which we break the fast. So they are invited by a family for iftar to avoid eating alone. But this guy came up with this idea as we see in the photo in here. So to the left, you can see this guy is sitting alone, right? He's having some eggs, dates, and only like a cup of maybe milk and water. And that's why, because he's living abroad all alone. But and he's like frustrated. But you can see to the photo to the right, this guy is having this meal with his family, um, um, with his mom. So it's actually people, for the students who live abroad, they actually suffer a lot when they are alone, but when they are with the family, it's actually totally different for them. So they have like the best food with the family, but while they are alone, it feels sad actually.
Yeah.
So they would feel nostalgic.
We're sorry if we made anybody sad who's in this situation, especially now with COVID, but soon enough, you're going to be back with your families. Enjoy nice weather like this one.
Indeed.
All right, the other thing we wanted to talk about is neighbors. So neighbors in Islam, I just want to start by saying the rights of neighbors in Islam are like really, really like extensive, very detailed. We have verses in the Quran that explain to you what you're supposed to do when you have a neighbor. Amongst these ones is to treat them with only the best of manners. Don't harm them in any way. So like not even noise. You have to be very careful. Be super kind. Share the food when you can. Help them in times of need. So if they're moving and they ask you for help, you have to say yes. You can't say no. And one thing that we do a lot, especially in Western countries, I'm talking now about Muslim immigrants. What they do is they like to, showcase their culture, whether they're from Arab countries or South Asian countries or the Middle East or North African countries. And whenever we have like a celebration, we make, some kinds of sweets. Then we usually like pack a nice plate for our neighbor, whether he's Muslim or not. It really doesn't matter. And we just share it. It's a way to share your culture, but also to fulfill that requirement in Islam to be nice to your neighbor. So let's just read this letter quickly. It says here, hey neighbor, today is the Muslim holiday Eid. We're going to talk about that in a second, which marks the end of our month of fasting. On this day, we get dressed up, go to prayer, and come back and celebrate with toys, food, and candy. We just wanted to share a little piece of our celebration with you. Hope you enjoy them. Many blessings, your neighbors with the kids that say hi a million times. So this is just to show you, and also from personal experience this year with COVID, usually if you have neighbors that are Muslim and you know they're Muslim, you invite them over. I'm talking about immigrant Muslims in different countries because that was my situation in Canada. You invite them over once or twice, and if they're good friends, you invite them every day and vice versa. But with COVID, we don't do that. So what we do, we every day somebody sends a meal. Like I would go to the neighbor and give them something, and then the next day they give me something, just to have like that community vibe that we're missing because of COVID. Yeah. So now what we just explained to you what is Ramadan and why do we fast, and we have gotten to Ramadan around the world, which is a fun part of the presentation. So before we say anything, we have to show you a map of Muslim population around the world. As I'll let you take a look quickly at the map before I say anything.
Um,
And now, just
yeah,
no,
Chama. Sorry.
don't worry. So I just want to point something. Just because you're in a non-Muslim country doesn't mean you skip Ramadan. Like you fast wherever you find yourself. Even if you find yourself, here, you're gonna fast. It's okay. But like the Muslim countries, they're here. It's North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, the Middle East, and like South Asia as well, of course, and here as well. But what I'm trying to say really is that all these countries, they have very different cultures, of course, and ways of doing things. But when it comes to Ramadan, everything is done exactly the same way except for food. So that's really amazing. No matter if I'm celebrating Ramadan here in a Muslim Moroccan family or in an Indonesian Muslim family, you can bet that everything is going to be respected in the exact same way, except for food, because of course that's the time to showcase the food of your country. So now we're going to go ahead and show you some meals and ways to break the fast. Go ahead, Bilal.
Okay. So one of the special things about Ramadan wouldn't feel like Ramadan if you don't do these things, which is the preparing for Ramadan. So people actually during before the start of Ramadan, they would actually go crazy in the street, especially moms. So they would go out, they buy decorations for the house Ramadan. It's like it feels like a Christmas. So most of the moms in the Middle East, they would go to the malls and they would buy some lights. So we have to the right. This is what we call fanus. It looks like mostly like a lantern. It's actually it is like a symbol for Ramadan. If you see the pictures in the middle, so most of these lights they actually hide it in, they hang it inside their homes and to the windows, so people outside in the street they see it, they enjoy it. So it gives like a lot of joy and a lot of gesture about Ramadan. It's really beautiful and it exactly gives you the atmosphere of Ramadan. So without these, it actually like it doesn't feel like Ramadan. So it's important to actually bring these at home. And people sometimes they share these as gifts. Another thing that we do is that we buy dates as boxes. Um, we do buy Ramadan sweets, especially for after having iftar, after breaking the fast, we have sweets, so that's important. Um, Setting Ramadan goals for what things that we should do, like as we said before, like the deeds. So everyone like might have some people would have like some schedule to follow, and asking for forgiveness to anyone we wronged. This is so important. And the night before, making the intention to fast Ramadan. So you can't fast unless you make the intention
And this is
to
a bit
fast the
strange
month.
maybe for you guys, but it's because in Islam, intentions are like super important. You might have the intention of doing something well, good, and then it doesn't work out, but you get technically the reward for making that intention. So that is why, like, before we fast, the moms, the dads, they say, "Did you make your intention like the night before? Otherwise, it doesn't count." Something like that.
Right.
The dates.
So talking about the dates, um, dates are like the main thing that we have before breaking the fast. So usually people have like some dates, right, and the cup of water. So when they hear the call for the prayer, which is at the Maghrib time, they break the fast with it. So there are different types of dates all around the world. So each person needs minimum one date per day, but usually we eat 3 to 5. That's the normal. Some people eat more, as it's the first thing we eat when we break our fast, as I said. So for a family of 5 members, one day per person, so 5 multiplied by 30 would result in 150 dates, right? But talking of 3 dates per person, so 150 multiplied by 3 would result in 450 dates. So that's a lot. So we actually would buy lots of boxes, right? To actually make sure that we have dates the whole month. Why dates? Why dates are so important? Because dates have like nutritional effects that are important for the body. It's lots of sugars, so it actually gives you the strength to it gives you a lot like strength, as I said, for the body. Like it has nutritional effects, like it has protein, calories, and fat. Um, so it's really important to use dates like to bake your fast with before having the great meal.
Yeah, and I just want to add, with regards to these numbers, I know they seem astronomical, but honestly, before making this presentation, I never realized like how many dates are consumed in a
Yeah.
day. Because like personally, it's my dad or my mom who gets the dates, so I never realized like how many dates are consumed. But don't worry, we never ran out of dates ever in my life. Like I don't know anyone who didn't have dates for Ramadan. We prep for that, and I think they're stored in a secret place because I only see one box at a time in the fridge. So I don't know, but I never saw 450 dates at once in the fridge. Anyway. All right, so now I talk to you about iftar. So you've heard this term a little bit throughout the presentation. That is the name of the meal with which we break fast at sunset. So there's a few things that we have to tell you before we show you the pictures of the iftar tables. The first thing is that you can actually do iftar, so break your fast anytime, sorry, not anytime, anywhere. So it has to be at sunset exactly. And you can do that anywhere. So wherever you find yourself, what do you need to break your fast? You need a date and water. Now, if in a situation where you don't have a date and you don't have water, you just eat something, whatever you find that you can eat, you eat it, just to like mark the point that you're not fasting anymore. But to be honest with you, we always like, if we know we're not going to be at home on a day that we're fasting, we're going to have a date on us because we thought about it. So for example, some people, a lot of people actually, they break their fast at the mosque, which is super great because they can pray immediately after. So a lot of people prefer that way. But like I was saying, like if you're at work, if you're a soccer player and your match is during iftar, well then you're going to pause for 1 minute. Sometimes they pause the entire game, sometimes they don't. But the players who are fasting, they eat their date and then they continue playing, no problem. And then if you're at work, when Ramadan especially is in the winter, sometimes you can break your fast at 3:30 p.m. It's happened to me quite a few times. I was in class or at work, and I would just eat a date, and then when I go home a few hours later, then I have my proper meal. Can happen in an exam, and anywhere you find yourself, really, you just have to mark that you're not fasting anymore. Really. One more thing that we wanted to mention is that right before iftar time, actually the streets of Muslim countries are empty, but really empty. Everyone is at home getting ready to eat. So, a quick story. One time, my family and I, we were invited to break the fast in another city. So we were driving, right? And then we were a little bit late because of something. We were a little bit late. And we got to the house of the people like 2 minutes later, 3 minutes later. And so we drove through the entire city and it was completely empty and it was so amazing, so beautiful. You never see the city like without policemen, without anyone, but truly everyone is at home waiting to eat. And before you ask, like no crimes are happening because even like the thieves technically they're probably fasting. So there are no crimes, no policemen, and it's totally fine.
That's right. Okay. So so when it's Maghrib sunset time, we hear the adhan. Adhan is like the call for to the prayer. So we can't break the fast until we hear adhan, right?
Yeah.
And adhan is done by the imam in the mosque. And in Muslim countries, you can hear it from your house. So if you have like mostly in the Middle East, you have mosques all around. So you can hear it easily. Like when you're sitting in your room, in your house, you can hear it easily. So that when you hear it, you can break your fast. So here we hear it from our Adhan app in Scranton, using using our phones. So looking at this is that we have Islamic prayer times. So to explain more on this, we have the first prayer which comes at Fajr. So Fajr means dawn. And the second prayer that we have is the midday prayer, which is Dhuhr. We call it Dhuhr. And then after a few hours, we have the Asr prayer, which is the afternoon prayer. And then the Maghrib. Maghrib is the time which is the prayer that we that where the adhan happens, that we break our fast. So it's the sunset prayer. This is the perfect time to actually like break the fast.
Mhm.
But Fajr, which we talked about first, is the time we start fasting. And lastly, we have the Isha, which is the after sunset at night prayer. As you see in the pictures, usually people, this is the mosque to the right, and this is like a house yard. So people usually like sit before adhan time. They would sit to actually read some Quran, do some prayer, and then once the adhan goes out, they actually break the fast together.
Yeah. And I just wanted to add regarding the prayer times, before you ask, like, how long does it take you to pray all of these prayers? Now, each prayer is about 5 minutes, a little bit less, a little bit more. It really depends on like you but it's around 5 minutes. And we didn't put any specific times because they're not static. It really changes every day. I mean, they're the same, like they're regular, but every day it's 1 minute later. So we didn't want to put a specific time. But I can show you, for example, for Scranton, Fajr is at like 4:24, right? And then Dhuhr is at 1 p.m. Asr is at 4:52. Maghrib is at 8:01 or 7:59. It depends. I mean, this is like a little bit late, honestly, on this computer. And then Isha is at 9:08 in this computer. But what I was going to say is that this is for today. So tomorrow it's going to be like this, but 1 minute later. Yeah, so remember the words Fajr and Maghrib, we're going to say them again. Maghrib, like Bilal said, is the time that the time that we're supposed to pray, but also the time that we're supposed to eat. And Fajr is also the time that we're supposed to pray, but also the time that we stop eating.
Right.
So after we hear the Maghrib Adhan, we break our fast with a date and water. So that's the way that we have to break our fast. And then most people will offer the Maghrib prayer immediately. Like the man right here, they're just gonna drink water, eat their dates, go pray, and then come back to the table and enjoy their iftar.
And the best practice is to keep iftar light. So most of the people they don't have like to eat excessively. This is not right. Since you have like the whole day like fasting, and then the stomach would like get that lots of food at that time of Maghrib. So that's not healthy. So keep in mind that the iftar meal is usually hosted by grandparents, where the whole family attends, like uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, and sometimes friends. So it's like usually for the Arab countries that we have 12 or more people on the table. So that's the usual. That's like the tradition. It is a bit of bootleg, so everyone brings and buys or makes something. So if you have like inviting people to your house, everyone like would bring some sweets. Some people would bring some juices, and that like it makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah. And one more thing that we should know about not eating excessively. Remember when we were telling you that the goal is to empathize with the poor and to feel the hunger? Like it would be contradictory then to just eat like no tomorrow. You know what I mean? So we're trying to like have that philosophy still and not to eat excessively. Although don't be alarmed when we're going to show you the pictures. Like there's a lot of food on the table, but that's also because there's so many people eating. And people crave different things, so you'll have a little bit of everything and then you can pick, but you're not supposed to like, and plus you get full pretty like shortly, I would say, because like Bilal said, you didn't eat all day. And then yeah, so let's start with the Moroccan iftar. It's also called ftour. So basically, it's like this. We have like the round tables, and then everybody has their own, soup. It's called harira in Arabic, in Moroccan Arabic. And then yeah, everybody has, there's the sweets, there's the Moroccan pastries, the eggs, the cold cuts, the dates, of course, tea, coffee, milk, juice, whatever you want to drink, you can make it and you can drink it, and a lot of smaller dishes, mini pizzas, mini sandwiches, things like that, so that everybody can. So it's not one meal or like one dish. Sorry, everybody can pick whatever they want to eat, and like leftovers, we eat them the next day and the next day. Yeah.
The next thing is the Algerian iftar, right? But then they call it sometimes they call it futur, we call it iftar, so different dialects. So they have on the table shoraba. Shoraba is simply the soup. They have eggs, cheese, cold cuts, Algerian pastries, salad and fruit. They have croissants, chocolatines, as we see here in the pictures. Usually the drinks that they have after having the meal, the food, they have tea or coffee, milk or juice, and smaller dishes on the side like mini pizzas or mini sandwiches. And actually, as you see, it looks so delicious.
What?
It
Oh, sorry.
looks so delicious. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. The Bangladeshi iftar. By the way, we forgot to mention these pictures are most of them are authentic. So we asked our friends and we said like, please send us your iftar tables from this year. And I'm sorry if like we don't have Pakistan today, just for the sake of time, but we have a lot of countries, but we definitely missed a few. So the Bangladeshi iftar is actually quite healthy. They have grilled meats, like fruits, vegetables, and a few specialties: milk, tea, coffee, juice, and that's it. I think out of all the countries, it's probably the healthiest one. Uh, and the samosas, of course, but they're not pictured here. Yeah.
The next the next table that we have here is the Sudanese iftar. So they usually a few Sudanese they have like specialties like salads, fries, bread, soup, and stews. So it's like a simple iftar. Um, simple dishes. They have like it in a tray, and everybody would gather around it, and they have food together.
Yeah. Then you have the Ethiopian iftar, which is a little bit similar, but one dish that they have that is quite special is I don't know how to explain it, but this is like a flatbread, and then on it there's a few things. So it's really, I think it's genius, honestly. And then they have a few other things that are similar than in other countries, and of course, as you can see here, the dates. You must have your dates on the table.
And lastly, we have the Lebanese, for the last one actually, the Lebanese iftar. Most of the Levant countries like Jordan, Palestine, which I'm going to talk about right after, Syria and Lebanon, they have these dishes. So one popular thing and one of the most delicious dishes is that they have shawarma. Shawarma, if you haven't heard of it, you should try it. And shish tawuk, they have the dish which is fattoush and the baba ganoush, soup, kunafa, which is the dessert. Kunafa is like it's so popular in Palestine, Syria, Lebanon. So this is one of the main desserts that we have. Um, Hummus is one of the main dishes, and more Lebanese specialties. So another like dishes they have potatoes, salad, which makes it like adds a lot to the table. And of course, lastly we have the Palestinian iftar table. Um, so as you can see here, we have um, to the far left, to the far right, sorry, we have this cup of like kharub. Kharub is like karub in English, I believe. So usually before breaking the fast, you have water and you have another drink. In Palestine, the other drink that you have after water is kharub, simply. So in every house, you will be served like kharub, and that's it. Some other people will serve you like orange, but the main juice that we have in Ramadan and is so popular is kharub. The other photo is that we have after having the main meal is that the sweet here, which is we call it gatayef, right? And it's so delicious. We always like stuff it with dates. And of course, kunafa, as I mentioned before. And this is actually a real photo of our first iftar here with the family. We have the fanus, the lantern, as I mentioned before. So people have it like at their tables, like as I said, to bring joy to the table. So soup, rice, roasted peppers, a grilled meat, salads, and the Palestinian sweet and some specialties, as I said. Makes it so delicious.
Yeah, I'm hungry. You already ate. And then we have the Turkish iftar. So as you can see, the Turkish iftar, they have a little bit of everything as well. They have pide, falafel, grilled meat, cheese, cold cuts, dolma, which is like grape leaves, lahmacun, which is a bit like pizza, menemen, which is, I believe, this, the eggs. It's an egg dish, sweets, and a variety of Turkish specialties, and it's really, really good. The Indonesian iftar is actually one of the most interesting ones. This is a true picture of one of my friends that sent it to me this year, and she says they do a seafood night quite often. And this is the first time I hear that some like a country does a seafood night for Ramadan. But then my grandma told me that even in Morocco we do it, but only in the north of the country. So yeah, some people like the countries who have a lot of fish, they might do a seafood night. Yeah. And lastly, we have the Afghan iftar, which is like probably my favorite, to be honest, after Morocco, of course. It has to be because it's really, really delicious. They have a lot of Afghan specialties. Mantu is a big one. They have grilled meats, Kabuli pilau, which is rice and lamb. And if ever you get the chance to eat Afghan food, like it's underrated, it's not known very much, but it is probably the best international food out there. Tarawih.
So Taraweeh, we said that we have like the optional prayers. So Taraweeh is one of the main prayers that we do in Ramadan. So Taraweeh is like the prayer that we do that it's only in Ramadan. So it's actually the prayers that come after the Isha prayer, which is the main prayer. So this prayers usually Muslims do like to be closer to God, like to do more prayers as like another like to have like more deeds and pre-corona, this is like a photo that shows how people like they actually gather in the mosque to pray together. It's actually also a time to meet with people and um, mingle. So Taraweeh with people getting vaccinated. So last year it was really most of the mosques around the world, especially in the Middle East, were closed because of COVID. But since we have vaccines right now, less restrictions, so people actually getting vaccinated to certain places started allowing Tarawih prayers recently, and all the while respecting all COVID measures. So we have distances as you see. So people are allowed to pray, but they must have like distances between each other to keep distance,
Yeah.
um, to lessen the numbers of like being affected by COVID. And this is like a photo before COVID. You see how many people actually take the chance to do Taraweeh. So it's a big deal in Ramadan for Muslims to be closer and to actually do a lot of deeds.
Yeah. And lastly, this prayer, I think Bilal just said it, I'm not sure, but I just want to emphasize it is optional. Like this set of prayer is very long, but it is optional. And as you can see here, this is an insane amount of people going on the street to pray because it's a once in a year opportunity or like 30 days during the year that you can benefit of the Sarawiyah prayers. Okay, so now we're going to talk to you about suhoor. So suhoor is the name of the optional meal that you eat right before like you cannot eat anymore. So this is the last thing you can eat before you start fasting. Last thing you can eat before dawn. So suhoor is a light meal. Again, it's highly encouraged, but it's not mandatory. That you can eat before fajr. Most people, they will eat something similar to breakfast, but not always. Like yesterday, I ate a salad for suhoor. Whatever I found in the fridge, I ate it. And then it has to have like highly nutritive elements so that you can like optimize, how long you can go without feeling hungry. Now, the reason why it's not like mandatory is because it's like highly encouraged, and Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Suhoor is a blessed meal, so do not omit it. Even if one of you only takes a sip of water, Allah and His angels send blessings on those who eat suhoor." So yeah, you can like some families are like super motivated and they actually like they cook, right? But a lot of people will just eat, yogurt, coffee, have proper breakfast, and that's it. Yeah, one last thing, something really funny. I was asking Bilal, like, did your mom and your dad also tell you this? Don't eat food that is too salty or
Exactly.
else you'll be thirsty. Realize that we had the same story. So,
Right.
especially for kids, yeah, when we're kids and I mean, when we're a teenager and we start fasting, you want to eat everything that you crave. So sometimes you eat chips, right before you start fasting, and then you spend a horrible day because you're thirsty all day.
It makes you so thirsty. So yeah, we have to avoid like salty food, salty things.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
this is also the last opportunity to drink water. So a lot of people chug like a big bottle of water. Might not be the best idea because then they go to sleep after. But yeah, this is the last chance that they get to drink water before they start their day of fast.
one of the things that is so popular in especially in the countries like Egypt, Palestine, Jordan, like the Libyan countries, what we call musaharat. So in a few Muslim countries, the musaharati walks the street. This is the guy who has like drums in his hand, and he actually um, um, hovers in the street. He goes in all of like the around the houses, like in some neighborhoods. So they are a group of people who volunteer actually, like to wake up people before suhoor time. So they would go out like at this time, like at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. before, like an hour before suhoor. They would like make, I wouldn't call it like some noise, but they would like calling people like wake up, have suhoor. Um, time time is like coming up to start fasting. So this is like to encourage people to wake up at night because some people would be sleeping. Um, like as I said, with a trumpet or the drums to wake people for suhoor. So it's like it adds like a lot to Ramadan days. People actually enjoy it, um, and people actually like wake up to such like saharati. So it helps them to wake up and have suhoor for those who have like deep sleep. So this is like an option for them like to wake up and encourage them to have suhoor. That's right.
Yeah, and it's a really old tradition because as you can imagine now, like we put an alarm for, 3:30, okay, I have to wake up, but then before there were no alarms, so this guy was the alarm, And we kept this tradition, even though we don't technically need him anymore, to be honest with you, but it's just nice to, sometimes you like don't sleep and then at 3 a.m. you hear the guy singing. It's a really nice feeling. And it has to be him because if you hear the adhan, you remember when we were talking about the adhan, if you hear the adhan, which you would also hear, then that means you cannot eat anymore. So we need somebody to do this right before to give us time to go eat. Okay, so what our Muslim, non-Muslim friends usually ask us, this is a common question. So between the Taraweeh and the Suhoor, do you guys even sleep at night? So it depends. Like, yeah, like yes, we sleep at night, but we do definitely sleep fewer hours during Ramadan. Some people don't sleep at all. Some people sleep fewer hours. It really depends what you do with the time that you have. So after Taraweeh, many people choose to dedicate their nights to reading the Quran, praying more optional prayers, like tahajjud, because there's like the optional tarawih, but there's like even more optional prayers after that you can do. Or you can stay up studying, working, since you feel more energized after eating. Some other people, they go to sleep and then they wake up again for suhoor and they pray the Fajr prayer, which happens at the same time as suhoor. And then you go back to sleep and then you wake up at your usual time. And then the naps are allowed during the day. Like you're allowed to take naps. It's just not like, don't spend the entire day of your fast sleeping. That's just the difference. Okay, Eid al-Fitr. So we're nearing the end of our presentation. This is Eid al-Fitr. It is the Eid marks the first day after Ramadan. So basically, this is the first day when we're not fasting. This means celebration of breaking the fast, literally. And it is a holiday in Muslim countries. So like nobody's working in Muslim countries again. And yeah, we celebrate that we just fasted the entire month of Ramadan. So things that happen regardless of where you are, regardless of the country, this is what happens. And I'm talking even about like Western countries. So me, if I'm fasting in Canada, I'm also going to observe this. So Salat al-Eid, you find a mosque. If you're not in a Muslim country, you find a mosque and you go ahead and you pray Salat al-Eid. And Belal is going to explain it in a few seconds. You have to wish Eid Mubarak Saeed, which is like happy Eid to everyone, like your friends, your family, people you see on the street that are also Muslim, you wish them. You have to get breakfast as a family, but only after Salat Eid. So you wait for everybody who went to the Salat to come back and then you grab breakfast. Then you have to visit all of your family in person. So this is pre-COVID, of course, but literally visit all of your family and you have to call those who are for. So we're going to explain to you how we managed to visit the entire family in a few minutes. You have to wear new, beautiful clothes and ideally traditional, but some countries don't wear traditional clothes. It depends. The adults in the family, they give money to the kids, the team, they give money to like people who are not, until you can work and support yourself. So until maybe 18, 19 years old, you still receive money or more. Maybe if you're in a university student, you still get money from your grandpa, your parents. And special food is made for that day. So go ahead, Bilal, with Salat Eid.
So Salat al-Eid. So actually, this salah is like it doesn't happen every day. It only happens in the first day of Eid. So it happens in the early morning, like at 6, 7 a.m. Um, so people wear their best prayer outfits. They actually gather like some people like do pray it like in mosques or like they do it like together like when there's like lots of people they actually like pray it like um in a field or something. So breakfast is eaten at home after the prayer. So they pray as you see them here in the picture. They gather and after the prayer, they actually have like some speech. Imam like reminds them like not to forget about what they used to do in Ramadan, to keep up the good deeds. And then after they would go home and have iftar with the like a breakfast with the family
Yeah,
right after the prayer.
go ahead. It's Palestine.
The next slide is coming up. So okay, so in Palestine, usually we have some main dishes for the iftar. So the first thing that we have in here, which is so popular in Palestine, like every house in Palestine, like every mom in Palestine have to do this one, which is ka'ak, and it actually it's so beautiful. People actually like make it for their homes. They actually share it with the neighbors too to bring joy in. So this is kunafa also that we have in Eid and we actually serve it to the people who actually like come and visit during the day. Um, actually, after the prayer, Salat al-Eid in the morning, we actually have some dishes like we have salad, mostly like potatoes, tomatoes, and some eggs. And this is how actually like breads look like. Uh, and and it actually like feels so good when when family like gather around the table, they get to talk and they enjoy eating and having breakfast in the morning together. And
Mhm.
this is like a picture of Palestinian moms are actually making um, ka'ek during COVID.
Yeah.
So they actually like do a great effort to make lots of ka'ek as much as they can.
In Morocco, so this, by the way, we forgot to mention, but we're only going to explain about the Eid traditions between Palestine and Morocco for the sake of time. So in Morocco, what we do is we drink atay. So for those of you who were there at the Morocco tea talk, you know what this is. It's just our tea with a little bit of mint. And then we have the bagrir, which is kind of like a pancake with, we say like 1,000 holes, but I'm not sure if it's 1,000. And then we have cinnamon, we have some croissant, chocolatine, and then other Moroccan sweets, juice, and coffee. So the whole family gathers at the grandparents' house, just like we used to do for iftar. But this time they try their best to show up early so that we can prepare and eat Eid breakfast. Eid outfits. Now, Eid outfits are a big deal as well in Morocco. Usually they're tailor made and you can do that like way ahead of time. So even before Ramadan starts, you go and see your tailor and you say, I want this design. Can you please make it for me? Now, or you can just go ahead and buy it from the store. But so again, for those of you who were at the Morocco tea talk, you know that like the outfits are like really extra, but these are a little bit more simple. So these outfits are really for Eid. It's a jalaba that is a little bit nicer than usual, with like nice colors. And men will also wear something very traditional. This is a little bit more for younger men, but yeah, and then little kids as well. So then we dress up in these clothes. We put on some like the nicest makeup and all of that, and then we take lots of pictures with the family members for memories.
Right. So for Palestine, we actually, as Shama said, mostly in most of the Arab countries, people actually like go up before Eid, for the day of Eid, to actually like buy new clothes. For women, they actually during the day of Eid they wear what we call tobe, and this is like embroidery. This is like a traditional clothing for women. They wear to actually like during the day of Eid. So they like spruce up with these clothes. For kids, they actually like it's important for kids. Kids actually like enjoy it most of the time, so they must like every kid like must have like new clothes. As you see here in the picture, um, above, this is like if you see the golden dome, this is in Jerusalem, which is the capital of Palestine. Actually, people enjoying their time. Kids would have lots of balloons and lots of fun after the prayer.
Yeah.
So it's all about enjoyment and fun. And this is like a picture in the old city in Jerusalem where they go and buy things. They give gifts. Um, actually before like going and do visits, which we are going to talk about right now, how to do visits.
So adults in the family, like I was saying earlier, they give money to the kids. Like I said, until you have like a full-time job, basically, you get money. How much money it depends on the family, but it's really fun. Everybody gives money to the kids, so you get a little bit of, and then you can just go buy candy or buy new clothes with that. How old you are when you start getting money, it depends on the family. I think I started getting money when I was like maybe 9 years old, and then my mom started it for me. Whatever. So it really depends on the family. But the thing that we really wanted to explain is how do we manage to see everybody like during one day? So here's what happens during the day. So since it's a holiday and nobody works, you have to spend the rest of the day visiting family members' houses, or they come to visit you. Now, so to avoid that people are going to a family and then they come in at the same time, they miss each other, we usually call ahead of time to make sure that they are at home. Now, for big families, so this is like a big family, for example, part of the family will stay to host the family visits, and the other part of the family will go to visit other members. So by that I mean, like, you remember when we said like we have to go to your grandparents' house and then you stay there for the rest of the day to grab the breakfast? Like for example, my grandma will probably stay at home with my grandpa, but then my uncle, one of my uncles will go to visit, and like he says like, who wants to come with me? And of course all the little kids, the teenagers, they want to go, because if you stay at home then you have to host and you have to serve the food and wash the dishes and all that, so you would rather go go and be a guest at somebody else's family. But yeah, so in average, you will have time to visit in average 3 or 5 households or more. And for your family members that live in another city, then you call them and you wish them a happy Eid. Now, the funny part is that visits, they can be long or short. So it depends. Like if you go at 10 a.m. or maybe 11 a.m., you're probably just going to stay for half an hour. But if you go at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m., you're going to be there for the lunch meal. And the funniest part is that whenever there is a visit, there's food or tea, and you have to eat. You cannot leave before you grab food. So, like, imagine being the one that has to visit 3 or 5 households, how many cups of tea you drink that day. So, yeah,
Yeah.
after Eid. Go ahead, Bill.
After it, so some people actually do extra fasting during the month of Shawwal. So actually, it's 6 days, extra days. Like they are optional. You can actually fast these 6 days. Maybe at the beginning of the month, in the middle of the month, or at the end of the month. So the goal is to genuinely try our best to commit to the good habits we took during the month of Ramadan. So, for example, to continue to pray on time, continue to read the Quran, and do the other deeds which we talked about. If you read here, um, this is hadith. This is like a saying by our Prophet. It's narrated that the Messenger of Allah said, "Whoever fasts Ramadan, then follows it with 6 from Shawwal. Shawwal is the month that comes after Ramadan. Then that is equal in reward to fasting every day." So actually, people do this fasting, like they fast 6 days, to actually win this reward. So it's really important, and especially the ones who do it, like my dad, my uncles. So it's usually the old people, they do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we got to the end of our presentation. So we will stop the recording so that you guys are more comfortable asking questions maybe. And feel free in the chat, or you can unmute or raise your hand to go ahead and ask us anything. Like no problem at all.